Her best friend was wearing her robe, in her house with her husband in her matrimonial bed. But that night at the airport, Linda knew none of this. All she knew was the excitement about meeting her husband Samuel again after 4 years. Samuel had no idea she was back. She had lived abroad, working double shifts as a nurse, saving every pound, every coin, dreaming of this very moment. She had told him she needed 1 more year, but that was a trick because she wanted to see his face when he opened the door and found her standing there. She imagined he would lift her off the ground. She imagined tears of joy. Instead, she found her best friend had been sleeping with her husband all the time she was away. The driver she hired from the airport kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror. "Madam, you sure say make I call Olga before we reach?" he asked cautiously. She smiled. "No, it is a surprise." She watched the familiar streets of Cumorah City glide past. The streetlights, the kiosks, the perfume of roasted corn mixes with exhaust fumes. She had missed this city. She touched the small gold bracelet on her wrist, the one Samuel gave her the day she left Cumorah City. He had stood at the departure gate, holding her face like it was fragile glass. An irresistible opportunity had opened up for her abroad that would change their lives for the better. "Go and build our future," he had said. "I will hold things down here." She believed him. The gate to their compound came into view. The cream-colored duplex she had paid for with her sleepless nights abroad stood tall and proud. But something felt different. Guess the security light near the balcony was new. The curtains were not the ones she chose. The front garden had pink flowers instead of the white lilies she loved. Her heart skipped. Maybe he renovated to surprise her too. The driver honked. A young security guard she had never seen before opened the gate. "Yes?" he asked. "I live here," she said, stepping out with her suitcase. "Call Samuel." The guard hesitated, scanning her from toe to head as if she were a stranger. "Madam, Olga no day. He has been traveling outside Cumorah City since yesterday." She froze. "What do you mean he is not home?" Her excitement dropped a little, but she forced a laugh. "It is fine. I have keys." She rolled her suitcase toward the door, her pace steady but alert. She pushed the key in. The lock did not turn. She tried again. Nothing. Her stomach tightened. She knocked. Footsteps approached from inside. A woman's footsteps. Linda frowned. The door opened slowly, and there she stood. Lola, her best friend since university. Lola in Linda's blue and red Ankara gown. Lola barefoot, hair wrapped in Linda's favorite Ankara scarf. Lola stared at her like she had seen a ghost. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Linda's voice finally came out in a whisper. "What are you doing in my house?" Lola blinked rapidly. "Linda." Just the name. Nothing else. As if saying the name was enough of an explanation. As if it answered anything at all. The living room behind her had changed. The grey couches were gone. The family portrait on the wall had been replaced with abstract art. There were men's shoes by the staircase, not arranged the way Linda used to arrange them. "This is not what it looks like," Lola said quickly. Linda let out a hollow laugh. "Then what does it look like?" Lola stepped outside, pulling the door halfway behind her. "Please lower your voice." "Lower my voice?" Linda repeated, her accent thickening with emotion. "You are in my house wearing my clothes and you want me to lower my voice?" The security guard was pretending not to listen. "Let us talk inside," Lola said softly. Linda did not move. "Where is my husband?" Lola swallowed. "He is not here." "That is not what I asked." The silence between them felt violent. "Lola," Linda said slowly, "tell me why you have the keys to my house." Lola looked away, and in that tiny gesture, everything cracked. Linda pushed past her and walked into the living room. The scent hit her first. A perfume she did not own. On the center table were 2 wine glasses. One still had lipstick on the rim. Her suitcase dropped from her hand. She walked toward the staircase in a daze. "Linda, please," Lola whispered, following her. The master bedroom door was slightly open. Linda pushed it. The bed sheets were not the ones she bought. The walls were painted beige instead of white. On the dresser sat framed photos, not of her, of Samuel and Lola, at a beach, smiling closely. Too close. Her breathing became uneven. 4 years. 4 years of sending money home for investments. 4 years of funding his upkeep and paying off the house. 4 years of calling every night. 4 years of believing she was building a marriage. Behind her, Lola began to cry. It started small. He was lonely. I was just helping. Linda turned slowly. Helping? You were helping by sleeping in my bed? Lola shook her head violently. It is not like that. Then how is it? Lola covered her face. He told me you were not coming back. Linda stared at her. What? He said you found someone abroad. The words felt unreal. Linda laughed, but it came out broken. Are you insane? I was working 12-hour shifts. Lola's tears flowed freely now. He said you stopped loving him, that you were sending money out of pity. Linda's mind raced through every late-night video call, every "I miss you," every prayer they said together. Had he been lying even then? Her phone buzzed in her hand. Samuel calling. Both women stared at the screen. Linda answered. Hello, she said calmly, though her world was spinning. Linda, his voice sounded tense. Where are you? She looked around the bedroom. I am home. Silence. Then you should have told me you were coming. I wanted to surprise you. Another pause. Listen, he said carefully. We need to talk. She almost smiled. Yes, she said softly. We do. Downstairs, thunder rumbled across the Kumura city sky. And as rain began to fall against the windows of the house she paid for, Linda realized she was standing in a place that no longer belonged to her. But she was not leaving. Not yet. Because something deeper than betrayal was unfolding. And she needed to know how far it went. When the call ended, Lola whispered, He is on his way back. Linda walked to the mirror and stared at herself. She looked like a visitor in her own life. But by the time Samuel returned to that house, he would understand one thing. She was not the weak woman he thought he had replaced. And the truth waiting beneath this betrayal was bigger than both of them. Outside, the rain intensified. Inside, war was coming. And this was only the beginning. The rain did not stop. It beat against the windows like it was trying to force its way inside. Like it too wanted to witness what would happen next. Linda did not move from the bedroom. Lola sat at the edge of the bed, twisting her fingers together, her tears drying into quiet sniffles. The Ankara gown suddenly looked ridiculous on her, like stolen royalty. Downstairs, thunder rolled again. Linda's mind refused to slow down. Every memory from the last 4 years rose like ghosts, demanding answers. The night Samuel called her crying because the business was failing. The afternoon he said he needed more money to complete renovations. The countless transfers she made, telling herself, this is marriage. This is a sacrifice. She remembered the day Lola visited her abroad. Lola had hugged her tightly at the airport. You are strong, she had said. Not every woman can do this. They had eaten jollof rice in her tiny apartment. They had prayed together before Lola flew back to Kumura City. Linda felt something cold crawl up her spine. How long? She asked quietly. Lola's head snapped up. What? How long have you been living here? Lola hesitated. That hesitation told the truth before her mouth did. 2 years, she whispered. 2 years. Linda blinked slowly. So, 1 year after I left, you moved into my house. It was not like that, Lola rushed. He said the house was too big for him alone. He said armed robbers had targeted the area. He said he needed someone to stay. Linda nodded faintly. So you suddenly became the chief security officer of the master bedroom. Lola began crying again. It happened gradually, as if betrayal were a staircase you accidentally climbed. Headlights flashed through the rain outside. Both women froze. Samuel had arrived. Linda straightened her shoulders. Wipe your face, she told Lola. Moments later, the front door opened. His footsteps were heavy, slow. He climbed the stairs without calling her name. When he entered the bedroom, he stopped. For a second, something like guilt flashed across his face. Then it hardened into something else. Calculation. Linda, he said carefully. Samuel, she replied. Lola stood abruptly. I will go downstairs. No, Linda said. Stay. Lola looked at Samuel. He gave a slight nod. She stayed. Linda studied her husband. He looked well-fed, for his beard is trimmed neatly. His wrist carried a new, expensive watch she did not recognize. He did not look like a lonely man struggling. He looked comfortable. You changed the locks, she said calmly. Yes. Why? He inhaled slowly. Because things changed. Explain. He ran a hand through his hair. Linda, we cannot do this in anger. She almost smiled. I am not angry. I am listening. He glanced at Lola. Then he faced his wife. You left. The simplicity of it stunned her. I left to work. You left me alone for 4 years. I left to build this house. You abandoned the marriage. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Linda's voice lowered. Did I stop calling? Did I stop sending money? Did I stop praying for you? He did not answer immediately. You changed, he said instead. How? You became distant. As everything was about shifts, the hospital, and overtime. You sounded tired every time. She laughed softly. I was tired. He stepped closer. Marriage is not built on money alone. Marriage is not built on sleeping with your wife's best friend either, she replied. Lola flinched. Samuel became angry. Watch your words. Linda stared at him in disbelief. Watch my words? The audacity almost impressed her. You think this is only about betrayal? It is bigger than that. Then make it clear. He looked at Lola again, then back at Linda. You were not planning to come back. Her breath caught. Yes, she admitted. For us. You never told me. I wanted to surprise you when everything was ready. He shook his head. You were building a life there. I was building options for you, for us. The room seemed to shrink. Lola suddenly spoke. He thought you were ashamed of him. Linda turned sharply. What? He said you did not want him abroad because he did not have the qualifications. Linda looked at Samuel, stunned. That is what you believed? He did not deny it. She felt something shift inside her. You could have asked me. You could have communicated better, he shot back. She exhaled slowly. So instead, you moved my friend into my house. Samuel's voice dropped. I did not plan to fall in love with her. The words landed like a slap. Lola gasped softly. Linda felt her body go very still. Love, she repeated. Yes. The rain outside softened, but the storm inside the room intensified. You love her? He nodded once. And she loves you? Lola could barely speak. I care about him. Linda felt laughter rising in her throat again, but she swallowed it. So the two of you decided to build a new marriage in my house, with my money. Samuel's eyes darkened. It is not your house. The statement fell like a bomb. Linda blinked. Excuse me? It is in my name. The silence that followed felt endless. She tried to process what he had said. No, she whispered. We agreed it would be in both our names. You were not in the country. It was easier. Her heart began to pound. You forged documents. I did what was practical. Her hands trembled slightly, but she clasped them together. So all the transfers I made, Linda asked, were gifts to my husband? Yes, he said coolly. The betrayal shifted shape. This was no longer just about intimacy. It was financial, legal, calculated. Linda's mind raced through the paperwork she signed before leaving Cumorah City. She trusted him completely. She did not double-check. You planned this, she said quietly. He shook his head. I adapted. She stepped closer to him. Do you know what I did to earn that money? He looked away. I cleaned every mess in hospital rooms where I worked. I worked night shifts while pregnant women screamed in labor. I missed Christmas. I missed funerals. I missed my own mother's burial. Her voice trembled for the first time. And you adapted? Lola began sobbing again. Samuel's expression faltered briefly, but pride held him firm. You cannot come back after 4 years and expect everything to remain the same, he said. Linda nodded slowly. You are right. He looked surprised. She walked toward the dresser and picked up one of the beach photos. She studied it closely. You look happy, she said. Neither of them replied. She placed the frame back down carefully. Tell me something, she continued. If I had not returned tonight, when were you planning to tell me? Samuel hesitated. Lola whispered, he was going to file for divorce. The room tilted. Next month, Lola added weakly. Linda's vision blurred for a second, but she steadied herself. Divorce, she repeated. Yes, Samuel said, regaining firmness. It is better than living a lie. Linda stared at him for a long time. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled, not because she was happy, but because clarity had arrived. You think I came back unprepared, she said softly. He frowned. What do you mean? She walked past them toward her suitcase downstairs. They followed. From a hidden pocket inside, she pulled out a brown envelope. I did not just come to surprise you, she said calmly. She placed the envelope on the dining table. And what is that? Samuel asked. She met his eyes steadily. Proof. He opened it. Inside were printed bank statements, property agreements, and transfer receipts spanning 4 years, each one documented and time-stamped. Samuel's face slowly lost color. Lola leaned closer. What is it? She asked nervously. Linda's voice remained steady. Before I left Cumorah City, I consulted a lawyer, a woman named Mrs. Owusu, who specializes in property disputes and marital asset recovery. She advised me to document every single transfer I made. Everyone. I have 4 years of receipts, Samuel. Bank to bank. Every amount, every date, every purpose noted. Samuel stared at the documents. You cannot use these against me, he said quickly. I do not need to use them against you. The law will use them for me. Documented financial contributions toward property acquisition. Your name may be on the deed, but my money built this house, and Mrs. Owusu already has copies of everything. Samuel's breathing changed. You are bluffing. Linda tilted her head slightly. Call your lawyer. The rain had stopped completely now, but inside that dining room, something far more dangerous had begun. Samuel looked at his wife like a stranger he was seeing for the first time. Not as the woman who left, not as the woman who sent money, but as someone he had seriously underestimated. And the night was far from over, because what Linda had not yet revealed was the one thing that would shake both of them beyond repair. She looked at Lola, then at her husband, and said quietly, "There is something else you both need to know." Their faces tightened. "What?" Samuel demanded. Linda took a slow breath. "The reason I really came back early," she paused, "it is because someone has been watching this house." Silence swallowed the room, and neither of them was ready for what that truly meant. If you're still here, type "I'm still here" in the comments. Let's see who stays until the end. The silence that followed her words felt alive. Samuel stared at her, his fingers still gripping the edge of the dining table. Lola's breathing grew shallow, like someone standing too close to a fire. "What do you mean someone has been watching this house?" Samuel asked. Linda did not answer immediately. She walked to the window and pulled the curtain slightly aside. The compound lights reflected off the wet pavement outside. "For the past 8 months," she said quietly, "I have been receiving anonymous emails." Samuel's eyes narrowed. "Emails about what?" Lola shifted uncomfortably. "At first, I ignored them. I thought it was jealousy. People talk, especially when a woman travels abroad and starts sending money home." She turned back to face them. "But the messages were detailed, dates, photos, transactions." Samuel's face stiffened. What photos?" Linda reached into her handbag and pulled out her phone. She opened a folder and placed it on the table. Lola gasped. It was a photo of Samuel and Lola at a restaurant in Kumora City. His hand rested on her lower back. The date stamp showed a time when he had told Linda he was traveling for business outside the city. Another swipe. A video clip of both of them entering the compound late at night. Another swipe. Bank alert screenshots. Large withdrawals. Transfers to an account under Lola's name. Samuel's face changed completely. "Where did you get these?" Linda's voice remained steady. "Does it matter?" "It does." She studied him carefully. "You want to know who exposed you?" "Yes." She looked at Lola. "I think you deserve to know too." Lola's lips trembled. "Please just say it." Linda inhaled slowly. It was your fiancé." The room exploded into confusion. "My what?" Lola whispered. "Your fiancé," Linda repeated. "You do not have a fiancé," Samuel snapped. Lola staggered backward, gripping the chair for support. I was engaged before," Linda nodded slowly. "His name is Yor." At the mention of the name, Lola's face drained completely. "He contacted me through social media. At first, I thought it was a scam, but he knew details about you, about Samuel, about this house." Samuel looked between them. "What is she talking about?" Lola covered her mouth with her hand. Linda continued. "Yor told me you broke off the engagement suddenly. No explanation. You blocked him everywhere." Tears streamed down Lola's face again. "He followed you one evening, saw you here, investigated further. And when he realized whose house it was, I guess he reached out to me." Samuel stepped back as if physically struck. "You were engaged?" he asked Lola quietly. Lola could barely speak. "It was before things got serious with you." Linda shook her head slightly. "No, it overlapped." Lola let out a broken sob. "You told him you needed time to focus on your career. Meanwhile, you had already moved into my home." The weight of the truth crushed the room. Samuel ran his hands over his face. "So this Yor has been spying on us," he muttered. "He was gathering evidence," Linda corrected. "He said he wanted me to know the truth before I wasted more years of my life." Samuel looked furious. That man has no right. No, Linda replied calmly. You had no right. Silence again, but this time it felt different. Not explosive, heavy, consequential. Lola sank into a chair. I did not plan for any of this, she whispered. When you left, Linda, I was lonely too. You were my only real friend. Then Samuel started calling me for small things, fixing things in the house, helping with documents. Her voice shook. He said you barely spoke to him anymore, that you were changing. Linda listened without interrupting. I felt important, needed. He would compare me to you, say I understood him better. Samuel flinched slightly. Lola looked at him with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. You told me she was done with you. Samuel did not deny it. Linda felt something inside her settle into clarity. You both built this relationship on lies, and now you are surprised it is collapsing. Samuel looked at her sharply. Do not pretend you are innocent in everything. She met his gaze steadily. Tell me my crime. You left your marriage exposed. She nodded slowly. I left to secure our future. I trusted you to protect our present. He had no answer, but yours evidence had revealed something else. Something Linda saved for last. Among the files was a recording. A phone call between Samuel and a real estate agent. In the recording, Samuel discussed putting the house on the market. He talked about timelines, about pricing, about relocating to a different city before Linda found out. He used the phrase clean exit. He laughed when he said it. Linda played it out loud. Samuel's own voice filled the dining room. The sound of his laughter at clean exit echoed off the walls of the house her money built. Lola's mouth fell open. Samuel's face went blank. You were going to sell my house, Linda said, and vanish. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. You were never replacing me, Linda said quietly. You were both using me. Lola looked at Samuel with something new in her eyes. Not love, not loyalty, recognition. She was seeing him clearly for the first time. And what she saw was a man who would use anyone. The house felt smaller now, like it was shrinking under the weight of truth. Linda picked up the property documents again. I have already spoken to Mrs. Owusu before I landed. Samuel's head snapped up. You what? I wanted to confirm my position, and I have enough documented financial contributions to claim legal interest in this property. At the very least, it cannot be sold or transferred without my consent. His shoulders dropped slightly. She continued. As for divorce, her voice softened, but not with weakness. I will file. Lola began crying again. Samuel looked stunned. You are ending it. Just like that. Just like that, she repeated gently. You ended it 2 years ago. The words cut deeper than shouting ever could. He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. Linda looked around the house slowly. I did not come back to fight for a man who has already chosen, she said. And I will not beg for space in a home I built. She walked toward the staircase. Where are you going? Samuel asked. To sleep, she replied. In this house? He asked. She turned halfway. Yes, in this house. He stared at her, unsure whether to protest, but something in her expression stopped him. Not anger, not hysteria, authority. Later that night, as the house settled into an uneasy quiet, Linda lay on the guest room bed. She did not cry, but she did not scream into the pillow. She stared at the ceiling and allowed herself to feel everything fully. The betrayal, the humiliation, the foolish trust, but also something else, relief. The fog was gone, the uncertainty was gone. The wondering if she was overthinking was gone. Truth had a strange way of clearing the air. Downstairs, voices murmured. Samuel and Lola are arguing softly. She could not make out the words, but the tension was obvious. The alliance that once felt thrilling now felt fragile. Because relationships born in secrecy often struggle under exposure. By morning, everything had shifted again. Linda woke early and stepped outside onto the balcony. The air smelled fresh after the rain. Kumora City was already alive. Horns, vendors, movement, life continued, indifferent to personal tragedies. Behind her, her footsteps approached. She did not turn immediately. It was Samuel. He looked exhausted. Lola left, he said quietly. She faced him slowly. Where? She packed at dawn. Linda nodded once. And you? She asked. He hesitated. I made mistakes. Yes. I thought you were drifting away, and instead of reaching for me, you replaced me. He lowered his gaze. I was insecure, he admitted. That is not an excuse, she replied. I know. They stood in silence for a while. Finally, he said, Is there any chance? She stopped him gently with a raised hand. Do not ask for something you did not protect. His eyes glistened, but she did not allow herself to soften. Because forgiveness and reconciliation are not always the same thing. I will stay in Kumora City for now, she continued. We will handle the legal process properly. He nodded weakly. And Samuel. Yes? Do not confuse my patience with weakness, and do not ever mistake a woman's sacrifice for permission to betray her. The words settled deeply. Weeks later, the divorce papers were filed. Mrs. Owusu moved swiftly. The documented transfers, the renovation invoices in Samuel's name alone, the audio recording of the planned house sale, all submitted as evidence. The house was evaluated, assets divided. It was not easy. There were arguments, accusations, and family interventions. Auntie Sewa, the elder relative who had watched the marriage from the beginning, sat with Linda one afternoon on the porch of her small apartment. I knew something was wrong, Auntie Sewa said bluntly. I told your mother before she passed. That man's eyes wander before his feet do. Linda smiled faintly. Why did you not tell me? Would you have listened? Linda considered this honestly. No. Exactly. Some truths have to be discovered. They cannot be delivered. But Linda remained steady through it all. She refused to allow bitterness to consume her. Instead, she did something unexpected. She started over. Not abroad this time, in Kumora City. She opened a small private healthcare consultancy using her international experience. It grew slowly, then steadily. People respected her resilience. Some spoke about the scandal, but gossip fades when success becomes louder. She hired 2 young women from the neighborhood and paid them fairly. She became the person in the compound that others came to for advice. Not because she had all the answers, but because she had survived something that would have flattened most people and come out standing. Months later, she received one final email from Yor. A simple message. I hope you are healing. She did not reply, not because she was ungrateful, but because she no longer needed rescuing. Samuel faded. That is the kindest way to say it. He moved to a smaller apartment across the city. The stories about him grew quieter, then stopped altogether. He was not a villain in the dramatic sense. He was something worse. He was ordinary in his selfishness. He was common in his betrayal. And the world moved on from him because the world always moves on from people who take what they did not build. Lola disappeared from her life completely. Whether she returned to Yor, or found someone new, or simply started over somewhere else, no one knew. Linda did not ask. There are some doors you close not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Lola was one of those doors. One evening, as she locked up her new office, she paused. The sky was painted orange and purple. She thought about the night she returned, suitcase in hand, expecting love and finding betrayal. If she could speak to that version of herself, she would not tell her to turn back. She would tell her to walk in anyway. Because sometimes the shock you fear is the doorway to the freedom you need. The house in Camorra City was eventually sold. Her share became her new beginning. Samuel moved on. Lola was gone. And Linda, she learned something priceless. Distance does not destroy love. Dishonesty does. A home built on lies will always collapse. Sacrifice without respect is theft. And a woman who knows her worth cannot be replaced. As Camorra City traffic roared in the distance and the city lights flickered awake, Linda stepped forward into her future. Alone, but no longer deceived. And that made all the difference. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button, like, share, and leave a comment. We have got some more videos on the way which we think you are really going to enjoy. Thanks for watching.